In this video, I am going to talk about the theme, the language, time and place of the play of Antony and Cleopatra. First, I am going to talk about the theme. The main theme of the play, as the title indicates, is the love affair between Antony and Cleopatra. It is the relationship between them both, which, consequently led to their tragic end, to their downfall. Now, all these political events of Egypt and Rome, the conflict between Caesar and Antony, are all backgrounds for his relationship. The play explores the nature of this love affair, throughout presenting these two contradictory worlds, the world of Egypt and that of Rome, which are complete opposite values. Shakespeare presents these two worlds objectively, showing the privileges and the defects of each world. He showed the merits and the demerits of each side. So, this is what we mean by saying that Shakespeare was objective and presenting these two worlds. He did not take side against the other. He did not say, "This is Rome and it is much better than Egypt," or the opposite. On the contrary, he showed us what is bad and wrong in each side. It is out of the conflict between these two opposite worlds that the love affair of Antony and Cleopatra comes out. Cleopatra stands for Egypt, and Caesar stands for Rome, while Antony stands in the middle of the two worlds. He is torn between the two. Remember, when we put two values, two different worlds, and each one has different characteristics, and Antony stands torn between them. The relationship between the two major characters, namely the central theme, is presented in the very first act of the play. Remember that Philo, Antony's follower, was the key to it. He presented the Roman attitudes towards Antony the lover. He said, "Look at Antony. Antony used to be a great fighter, used to be a great leader, he used to be the god of war. But, now, he is just cooling the lust of a gypsy. He is being deteriorated, he is being degraded." As we see, it is the first passage that describes this love affair and its consequences on both involved sides. Shakespeare is wise in his representation of the dilemma from the very first line of the play. And then in the passage that follows, there is the Egyptian point of view, and we have a conversation between the two lovers. Antony says to her, "Let Rome and Tibur melt, here is my space. Kingdoms are clay." Immediately after the Roman point of view, we are presented with the Egyptian one. "Here is my space. The pleasure of life is to love." We are familiar now with this contrast between the two worlds. Rome stands for masculinity, for the mind, for the realistic world. Women in Rome are dominated, weak, and obliged to obey men. Moreover, Rome is the world of politics, and it is politics that rules love. Remember when Octavia marries Antony, it is the case of a political marriage, because this marriage was to secure peace. So, it is politics that determines love. Also, Rome is the world of great empires, of fighting, of glories, of military hours, military rules. It is a society which is divided into different fractions. On the other side, we have the other extreme, the opposite, the world of Egypt. Egypt is warm, represents the pleasure of life, and noble human values. It is a romantic world, the world of heart, and not the world of mind. It is also the world of femininity. Women are strong, and men are only lovers. It is the world of pleasure-seeking, of drinking and got intoxicated, of enjoying life to the full. It is also unified. Egypt is the world of unity. It is the world of a homogeneous society, because it is not divided like Rome. Rome has got a civil war and it has got this division, or fractions. This is this contrast between the two worlds. There are always these opposite values. In the play, we have the theme of duty, of honor. You know, Antony being a divided character, split between love and honor, love and duty. Be sure of the importance of this contrast between the two leaders, Antony and Caesar. The main theme, which is the relationship between Antony and Cleopatra, is very important because it is transcended at the end. At the beginning, it starts with physicality, with sensation. But, this physical love was elevated at the end into a spiritual one. Actually, there is a kind of development from worse to better. that is to say from physicality to spirituality. This transcendence of the physical love was added by Shakespeare in order to enhance our admiration of this kind of relationship. This transformation, this kind of elevation of the love enhances our admiration, because it is noble, and it asserts the value of love which the play ends with. It enhances our sympathy also. On page 205, the final passage of the play asserts the value of this relationship or the value of love, and it is said by Caesar. Caesar here is stressing the value of their love, the love between Antony and Cleopatra. He is stressing the value of this relationship. Caesar says, "No grave upon earth shall clip in it a pair so famous." He says, "No grave on the whole earth shall contain a pair so famous as them." So, they are so famous lovers, and no grave on earth shall have a pair like these two. High events. To be lamented. Their story deserves pity and glory for an end like this one. This is Caesar, the enemy, is talking about them. Our army shall. This great solemnity. He gives his order to make sure that a great and a dignified funeral is made for them. They are glorious people. This is the final message. So, it ended up with the value of love, with the assertion of the love relationship between the two lovers from an enemy of the two. The rest of things are just backgrounds, projects on this kind of love affair. Now I am going to talk about the language of the play. It is difficult to distinguish the language of the play, because the play is mostly involved with characters. But, of course, it's worth paying attention to the rich language of this play, the rich language of Antony and Cleopatra. So, as many other Shakespearian tragedies, the language is verse. The language of the play is mainly dialogue, for it is not like the language of the novel where you have so many descriptions. In this case, we have got mainly dialogues and stage directions. The later ones are more modern than the Elizabethan. For example, in Bernard Shaw's plays you get a long stage direction. You know that the stage direction is this first beat that describes the stage and the characters, and the shape of the characters. This is really modern. It does not appear in the Elizabethan. At that time, long details on stage direction are not allowed. We only have few things, just 2 or 3 words telling us about access, about the play, where the events take place. This verse is very rich, it has got rich vocabulary. The language is rich, it denotes more than one meaning. For example, the word serpent is repeated many times in the play, and it is associated with Cleopatra. This word, serpent, has more than one meaning. It may mean temptation in the religious context. It is evil also. In the Egyptian sense, it is the symbol of royalty and power. So this word serpent was associated with the character of Cleopatra to denote or to describe the complex nature of this character in particular. At the end of the play, namely when Antony dies, Cleopatra says, "He is asleep, my baby is asleep." This word asleep here has also a double meaning. It means death. A little death, that is to say. But of course, metaphorically, sleep is not final. So it is either death, or it means sleep, which refers or denotes metaphorically to another meeting. At the end of the play, these two lovers hope to meet each other in the other world of eternity. Actually, some critics say that this play is not tragic. It is not really tragic, although the two lovers died at the end. However, it is not so tragic as some other works like King Lear, or Hamlet. It is not so somber, simply because Antony and Cleopatra has got this kind of spiritual love. Moreover, it is this element of merry-making, enjoyment, although it has battles and although the two lovers die at the end, and their bodies disintegrated. Yet, it is not so somber. There is always this hope that they will meet in the future, throughout the play. There is this Egyptian context that gives us the cheerful atmosphere. In conclusion, language has many levels of meaning, and it has many functions. The dramatist would use language to convey meaning, to create an atmosphere. He may use imageries to attribute a certain character or to add up to the atmosphere of the play, or to the theme or even to the structure. Shakespeare manipulates imageries and uses themes in different ways. This use of imageries has different levels of meaning for certain functions and for certain purposes. First of all, we have images in the play that describe the Christian atmosphere, the universal atmosphere, a lot of images that link him with heavens, with stars, with the moon, with the ocean and the sea. These images are meant to glorify and enhance the character of Antony. There are also many images that link him to gods. He is being linked from the beginning to the end with Jove, Mars, and with Jupiter. The best among all is that he is the best man of men and he is the man of the world. Again, all these mentioned images are means to glorify more and more the character of Antony. There is a Christian metaphor. When he meets his friend, after his loss of the battle, he says to him, "Serve me for the last time." However, and later on, 𝐒𝐴𝐵𝒃 betrays him instead. This is really a Christian metaphor. It reminds us with Christ. We know that one of his followers betrayed him. One can find many more examples that revolve around this particular idea. Notice that these images add up to the magnificence of the character described. Cleopatra says in one passage, "I'll set a bourne how far to be beloved." Then Antony says, "Then must." New Earth. Cleopatra thinks herself capable of putting a limit of some kind to her overflowing love. She wants him to put a limit to their love of Egypt. In the Egyptian setting, there are always images which refer to fertility and to luxury. In this sense, images differentiate two ways of lives, two sets of values, two different worlds. Remember what Cleopatra said one time to the soothsayer, "Arto, let me be married to 3 kings. Let me do this and this." This is one image of fertility in the course of Antony and Cleopatra. It is unforgettable the scene in which 𝐒𝐴𝐵𝒃 describes the first meeting between the two lovers by the Nile, how she appears on the boat, the admiration of the others to her, and many other magical aspects. There was this attendance and there was perfume, magic, music, gold, silver, and luxury. These are all most wonderful images. In the Roman contexts, images are those of war, of fighting, and of business. It is obvious that all the imageries that are used to describe the context, or that which are derived from this context in particular to manifest the image of coldness in the Roman life, are helpful in the sense that they draw a panoramic picture of this world of Rome. The most important imageries among all are those which magnify and glorify the character of Antony poetically. Antony's character is continuously given superhuman qualities. Example about that is the meeting between Caesar and Lepidus, in which the former keeps attacking Antony. On the contrary, Lepidus says that his faults are like the stars in heaven. Because Antony is great, his faults look greater, just like stars in heavens. Let's go back to Caesar to find him talking again, and there is an enlargement of Antony's character. Caesar says after the death of Antony that the death of Antony should make a crack in the world, the round world, of the world. Again, this is an Elizabethan idea about the death of a great hero. They believe in the validity of having a break or confusion in the world after the death of Antony or any outstanding person. What is much important than this is a metaphor said by Cleopatra on page 189. In fact, this is a universal one in which the poor queen says, "His face was as the heavens and moon." Antony is linked to heaven and to stars continuously. This is after his death, of course. His face is just like the heaven, and his eyes are like the sun and the moon, for there stuck a sun and a moon. Earth is now too little compared to his greatness. In the second passage, she continues her universal metaphor, giving him through that many superhuman qualities. These universal metaphors have the function of enlarging Antony's character. For example, his arm dominated the world. His voice has got this heavenly music of the spheres. This is when he talks with his friends. It is obvious that in the old mythologies, those who can hear the heavenly music are just those who are favored by God. But, when he speaks to his enemies, or he is angry, he would shake the whole world with discontent. Thus, he will sound like a horrifying thunder. Winter is a dead season, whereas autumn is the greatest season because the more it reaps, the more abundant it gets. Naturally, as for his generosity, he is like autumn, which has no winter at all. In addition to that, his generosity is endless and it is linked to the fertility of earth. His greatness is outstanding, just like a dolphin that jumps out of water apparently. Realms and islands dropped out of his pocket just as silver coins. All these images enlarge the greatness of Antony's character. On the other hand, we have images which refer to his weakness. This is so especially at the beginning. He is described as a fan, and also he is described as a fool lover, a stupid lover. Generally speaking, there are cosmic images which enhance and add up the universal dimension of the whole play. There is always a continuous attempt by Shakespeare to give up the image of the magnificence of the issues which the play deals with. So, it gives us a sense of power, of grandeur. The sun image is also very important. The sun is a symbol of royalty. The sun is between the stars in heaven, and it is always associated with the character of Cleopatra. Now, the Egyptian queen is the one of earth. When Antony hears of her death, he announces it as the sunset. The long day is over. Cleopatra is associated with the sun, but she is still a symbol of royalty. The sun is the queen in heaven, and Cleopatra is the queen on earth. The sun also stands for Egypt. It stands for heat and for lust as well. Also, there is the image of the serpent. The serpent image is associated with Cleopatra's character, and it runs out throughout the whole play. The serpent image has a double meaning. It is, on one hand, a royal symbol. This is in the Egyptian belief. It is a symbol of poison, of deception, of temptation, and of evil. On the other hand, notice what Antony says many times in the play: the queen is a serpent. Of course, Cleopatra dies at the end by an aspic, or by a little serpent, which is really a part of the continuity of the play. So, a serpent denotes death as well. There is another image which is the image melting, dissolving, dissolution, and disintegration. This is derived from the theme, because Antony and Cleopatra literally disintegrate, literally and spiritually dissolve. When Antony is reminded of his duty, he said, "Let Rome in Tiber melt." He says let Rome melt in river Tiber for he does not care a bit. Actually, it is functional because he melts and disintegrates literally. Later on, exactly when Cleopatra receives the news of Antony's marriage to Octavia, she says, "Melt Egypt into Nile." So, here is another image of melting which refers to the lack of control or the lack of authority. Here, Antony came and found Phidias kissing Cleopatra's hand. Antony says, "Ah, you kite. Now, gods and devils, authority melts from me." Actually, now, at this moment, or maybe earlier, Antony's authority is melting, which means that he is becoming weaker and losing power, and consequently he will die. Then he says, "Of late, unto a must, start forth." He says, in other words, lately or previously, when I used to cry ho, kings would rush forwards to meet me like boys unto a muss, a kind of a game, crying, "Cry your will. Have you no ears? I am Antony yet." Antony is losing power and authority. Cleopatra demonstrates another reference of dissolving. Plenty of words denote the same appointed meaning. Dear, if I be so. This is so when Antony accused her saying that she is betraying him with Caesar. Dear, if this is true, then let heaven produce hail, and let heaven poison my heart. And the first, dissolve my life. Antony is again disintegrating. The idea of losing power is meant metaphorically by the disintegration which expresses it. Fortune and Antony part her, but even here he is shaking hand to fortune, because he thinks that the hearts that followed him and loved him most are now melting and decaying. Melt there, Caesar. Antony unfortunately admits the fact that they are away from him. He is stripped and he lost power. He lost his followers and dearest friends. Moreover, he thinks that he lost Cleopatra. He describes why he is stripped in this miserable way. Betrayed I am, fast and loose. Unexpectedly, the one who has been deceived from the beloved queen is nobody but he himself. Another image is the one of water. Water is always there, and heroes and heroines has to cross the ocean all the time. Ocean and water literally exist in the play, not only metaphorically. There is the Mediterranean between Egypt and Italy. The heroes and the heroines are obliged to cross it all the time. They are used to witness battles take place in the sea. Notice that these kinds of images are derived from the atmosphere of the play Antony and Cleopatra. Characters are dissolving, losing power, physically and spiritually. But also, the image of water can be attributed to or associated with a character. For example, when 𝐻𝐸𝒃 was describing Cleopatra, he said that her sighs and tears cannot equal the strongest storms. Another image is the ebbed man, the low-class man, the weak man who ebbs. You know the process of ebbing and flowing of the sea waves. This is so when water of the sea goes forward and backward. Caesar said that Antony becomes like those low-class people who ebbs. So, this sea metaphor which is said by Caesar denotes Antony's weakness. Because the play tragically ends, their bodies disintegrate. The same thing applies to the first image, the image of Antony's magnificence. He is so great, but yet he dissolves and gets lost. The image of uncertainty is so important in this Shakespearian play. On page 163 Antony says, "Sometime we see a cloud. Dragonish." He is talking about existence in general. He says that sometimes we see a cloud that looks like a dragon, but it is a simple cloud, no more no less. A vapor. Or lion. Or, we may see mist or a cloud that takes the shape of a bear or a lion. So, it is just mist or a cloud, it is not reality in any sense. There is a cloud that looks like a citadel, a very high and large citadel, a pendant rock, or the shape of a rock that is hanging in between, or a forked mountain, a mountain that has two peaks. We can also see trees that goes into the world. So, all these shapes which we imagine in the sky are not true. You can say that they are made out of mist and vanishing clouds. All that they do is mocking our eyes with air. In other words, everything is deceptive. Remember when we talk about the development of drama, especially the part that talks about the pageant. There was the stage of pageant. In this occasion, it is all untrue and deceptive. In this passage, Antony sounds like Hamlet, contemplating and thinking about the world. In Peacemaking Treaty, there is another example of the image of uncertainty. Although it is reality, yet it is not true, therefore it is deceptive. There is a peace treaty, but also under the peace process there is a great deal of hatred. In the Roman setting, the reality, or the surface, is really deceptive. Remember when 𝐻𝐸𝒃 was talking about Cleopatra, he said, "Age cannot wither her." This is paradox. Age usually withers people. People grow old by time, but here is the opposite direction. She does not grow old by time. Moreover, he said, priests bless her when she is righteous. Paradox is there because a priest does not bless her when she is a prostitute. But he blesses her when she is devout. Paradox is another technique concerning language, and in the use of paradox, Shakespeare described Cleopatra's complex character. As we mentioned from the beginning, the language is verse, and it is iambic pentameter, which means 5 iambic feet. There are prose spaces. Prose is said to or spoken by lower-class characters, such as the speech of Cleopatra's maid, or the one between 𝐻𝐸𝒃 and the rest of the soldiers talking about the reconciliation of the three leaders. Prose is also said by higher-class characters when they are in unofficial occasions, or relaxed. An example about that is when Lepidus was drunken and was talking to his follower, and also in the comic scenes. Antony speaks prose sometimes the time he meets 𝐻𝐸𝒃. Notice that Cleopatra and Caesar speak verse or poetry throughout the play. This is the language used here. Lastly, I am going to talk about the time and the place. There is no unified place, according to the classical rules, in the Greek and Roman times tragedies. According to Aristotle, the playwright should follow three unities: unity of time, unity of place, and unity of action. The unity of place dismissed. If you look at the Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, there are events which take place in Alexandria, or from one room in the palace another in the same palace, then a quick shift Rome and then to Alexandria back again. Some these shifts are made to Pompey's boat, so then we have events in Syria. As we can notice, there is no existence of the unity of the place. Shakespeare introduces us to many places, when we are going to talk about Dryden's play for love, and we will notice by the way that stick to the unity of place and time because came in the time of a neoclassical traditional outlook. This movement appreciate the three unities. The time expands. The play should be introduced in 24 to 25 hours. The play is more than one day. It may expand over than a month or a year. This is the end of our subject. Please, do not forget to click notification bell, like, share, comment, subscribe my channel.